If you had told me that Tasha would one day become my greatest enemy, I would have laughed in your face. We were two skinny girls growing up in a one-room zinc-roof house that leaked during the rainy season. When thunder rolled, Mama would place buckets around the room, and we would huddle on the mat, holding each other as water dripped beside us. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Tasha and I used to lie awake, whispering into the darkness about our dreams. One day I will be a nurse, and you will be a big businesswoman. I would say, we will buy Mama a big house with white walls and flowers everywhere. Tasha would add, her eyes shining even in the dark. We pinky promised, no matter what, we will never leave each other behind. Back then, I believed her. Tasha was the beautiful one, with big brown eyes and a laugh that made people want to give her things. I was the quiet one, with rough hands from washing clothes for neighbors for small change, always counting coins in a tin under my pillow. Mama always said, take care of your sister Myra, you are all you have. So I did. When Tasha started secondary school, she would bring home stories about girls who had sugar daddies that bought them phones and wigs, how they traveled to Lagos and posted pictures by the pool. She would laugh, saying, one day this will be us. But I saw how her eyes lingered on the screens, how her smile would fade when she looked around our small, dark room. I didn't want that life. I wanted a future built by my own hands, with sweat that meant something. I wanted to work hard, to build a life we could be proud of. But sometimes, love for family makes you blind. By the time I was 16, I had 2 cleaning jobs. I would sweep compounds in the morning before school, and wash plates at Mama Abeni's buka after school. My hands were always raw, the skin on my knuckles cracking from detergent and cold water. Every evening when I returned, Tasha would be sitting outside, scrolling through her small techno phone, laughing at videos, or taking selfies in the sunset light. Come and take with me, she would say. But I was always too tired, smelling of onions and oil, my back aching from carrying water. Instead, I would smile and watch her, thinking one day when we have enough, I will have time to laugh too. I opened a small savings account, using Mama's ID card, without telling anyone. Every week, I would go to the bank, clutching my dirty notes, slipping them through the metal slot to the cashier who barely looked at me. Next, she would shout and I would step aside, holding the small deposit slip like it was gold. That account became my lifeline. Every night, I would touch the ATM card hidden in my wrapper and whisper, soon we will leave this place. I planned everything in my mind. How we would move to a new city, how I would open a small food stand near a school, how Tasha would finish her education, and how we would send for Mama later. I was saving for us, for our freedom, for the promise we made on the mat years ago. But I didn't know, I was only saving for Tasha. It was a Friday evening when Tasha came home late. The sun had already set, and I was sitting on the floor, peeling onions for the next morning's stew orders when she burst in, slamming the door behind her. Her eyes were swollen, and her makeup was smeared, leaving black streaks down her cheeks. She was clutching her small bag so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Tasha, I exclaimed, dropping the knife and rushing to her. She slid down to the floor, hugging her knees, shaking uncontrollably. I sat beside her, placing my hand on her back. What happened? I whispered. She looked at me, her eyes red, tears streaming down her face. I'm pregnant, she choked out. I felt the world tilt around me. Pregnant! For a moment, I couldn't speak. My mind raced, trying to process her words. For who? I finally managed to say, my voice trembling. She buried her face in her hands, her body shaking. For Mr. Bello. The name was like poison on her tongue. Everyone knew Mr. Bello, the married man with a big stomach and flashy cars, who was known for helping young girls with money and gifts in exchange for their company. I felt anger rise in my chest, hot and burning, but when I looked at her, I saw only fear and regret. He said he doesn't want it, she whispered. He said if I tell anyone, he will ruin me. Myra, I don't know what to do. She looked so small, so broken, her shoulders shaking with sobs. And despite the anger, the disappointment, the fear of what this meant, I reached out and hugged her. We will figure this out, Tasha. I promise you, we will get through this. She clung to me, sobbing into my shoulder. And in that moment, I made a decision. We would leave this place together. We would start over, away from the gossip, away from the shame, away from men like Mr. Bello. I would use the savings I had worked so hard for, the money I had gathered coin by coin, to protect her. Because she was my sister. And I loved her, even when I shouldn't have. The day after Tasha's tears soaked my shirt, I stayed up late, lying on the mat, staring at the ceiling as the fan turned slowly, stirring the humid air. My mind was a battlefield. How will we survive? What if Mr. Bello finds us? What if the money isn't enough? But beneath the fear was determination. Tasha needed me. Mama needed me. I would protect my family, no matter what it cost. Before dawn, I walked to the small bank branch, clutching the ATM card like it was the last lifeboat on a sinking ship. The security man unlocked the door, and I was the first in line. "How much do you want to withdraw?" the cashier asked, chewing gum, uninterested. "Half," I replied, my voice shaking. She counted the bills carelessly, the notes wrinkled and warm. I took them with trembling hands, placing them in a brown envelope I tucked inside my wrapper. As I stepped out, the sun was rising, painting the sky gold. It felt like a sign, a promise that everything would be okay. I went to the market, buying a small bag to carry our clothes, biscuits for the journey, and a few sachets of pure water. I kept the remaining money hidden under my mattress, layered beneath old clothes. Tasha was unusually quiet that day, folding clothes with me, rubbing her belly absent-mindedly. "Are you scared?" I asked. She shrugged, her eyes distant. "A little." "Don't worry," I said, forcing a smile. "Once we leave, you'll be safe." She looked at me then, and for a moment, her eyes glistened with something I couldn't read. "Thank you, Myra," she whispered, hugging me. That night, she lay close to me, her breathing steady, her hand resting on my arm. I closed my eyes, whispering the same prayer over and over. "Please God, let us be free." The day we planned to leave, I woke up before the first call to prayer. The world was silent, the darkness comforting as I quietly folded our clothes into the bag, my heart pounding with both fear and hope. "Tasha," I whispered, shaking her gently. No response. I shook her harder, but the mat was empty. "Tasha," I called louder now. I looked around the small room, expecting her to jump out from behind the door, laughing at her prank. But the room was silent. The bag was still there, but when I lifted the corner of the mattress, the brown envelope was gone. My heart dropped. I tore apart the clothes in the corner, my hands shaking, searching for the envelope. Gone! Frantic, I reached for my wrapper where I hid the ATM card. Gone! "No, no, no," I whispered, sinking to my knees. I stumbled outside, barefoot, the morning chill biting at my skin as I ran down the street. "Tasha," I screamed, my voice cracking. I knocked on neighbors' doors, asking if they had seen her, but they shook their heads, confused. "Please, Tasha, please," I sobbed as I ran, searching alleys and the bus stop, hoping to see her, hoping this was a nightmare. But she was gone, along with every naira I had saved, along with every dream I had. I sat on the roadside as the sun rose, the world coming alive while mine shattered quietly, tears soaking my skirt as I rocked back and forth, whispering, "Why, Tasha, why?" The days that followed felt like death. The landlord banged on the door, demanding rent I no longer had. I begged for more time, but he laughed, calling me a fool for trusting even your own blood. I lay on the mat at night, the emptiness beside me heavier than the hunger in my stomach. People began to whisper when they saw me. The foolish girl who let her sister steal from her. I ignored them, clutching my stomach as it growled, trying to hold onto the last shred of dignity I had left. When Mama called from the village, her voice tired, asking if I could send her something for her medicine, I swallowed the lump in my throat and lied. "Soon, Mama, soon." That night, I walked through the dark, sitting by the roadside as cars passed, their headlights painting lines on my face. I wondered where Tasha was, if she was safe, if she thought of me at all. I tried calling her number, but it rang and rang before going dead. I tried again and again, but each time it was the same. I sent messages. "Tasha, please come back, we can fix this. Please, I have nothing, I need you." No reply. Days turned to weeks, and eventually, the landlord threw me out, tossing my small bag into the dust as neighbors watched, whispering. I found myself sleeping on the floor of a church compound, using my bag as a pillow, listening to the sounds of Lagos at night. The horns, the laughter, the cries. My stomach hurt, my body ached, but the pain in my chest was worse. It wasn't the hunger or the shame. It was the betrayal. How do you heal when the knife in your back has your sister's fingerprints? Days turned into weeks, and I learned to survive on scraps. I cleaned gutters for food, washed people's clothes for coins, and drank sachet water to fill my empty stomach. At night, I lay under the open sky, mosquitoes feasting on my skin, whispering prayers that barely left my lips. One evening, while charging my small phone at a roadside vendor, I connected to free Wi-Fi and opened Instagram, searching for distraction from my hunger. That was when I saw her, Tasha, living, laughing. She was wearing a curly wig, posing in front of a mirror in a hotel room. Her belly no longer flat, her hand resting gently over it. Her nails long and painted bright pink. Soft life only, her caption read. Followed by hashtags. Hash blessed, hash rich anti-vibes, hash God did. In another post, she sat at a restaurant. A plate of grilled chicken and rice in front of her. Juice beside her. Her lips curled into a soft smile as she stared into the camera. My stomach roared. Not from hunger, but from anger. I scrolled through her feed. Picture after picture of new clothes. New shoes, plates of food, selfies with expensive filters. Her smile bright, while mine had died quietly in the corner of a church compound. I sent her a message. Tasha, why, you left me with nothing, I am suffering. It showed seen. No reply. I sent another. Please, I have nothing, help me. Seen. No reply. I stared at the screen, tears dripping onto my cracked phone screen as passersby walked past. Uncaring, I wanted to throw the phone, to scream, to rip my own skin off to escape the pain. But I could only whisper. You promised, Tasha. You promised we would never leave each other behind. Weeks later, she called. My hands trembled as I answered, pressing the phone so tightly to my ear that it hurt. Tasha, I croaked. She was laughing, her voice light, like she had no worries in the world. Ah, Myra, you are too serious. Why are you sending me sad messages? I couldn't speak, my mouth dry. You needed money, I needed it more. She continued, I'm pregnant. Myra, I needed to take care of myself. With my money, I finally managed. My voice trembling with rage. You stole everything, Tasha. Everything I worked for. She sighed dramatically. You're too emotional, Myra. Always taking life so seriously. I'll pay you back when I can, okay? I'm homeless, Tasha, I'm hungry. She was silent for a moment, before letting out a small laugh. You'll be fine, Myra, you're strong. I always knew you'd survive. Before I could speak again, she hung up. The call ended. And with it, the last piece of hope I had left. Months passed. I found a job washing dishes in a small roadside canteen, sleeping on a mat behind the building, scrubbing plates until my hands bled. But at least I was surviving. One evening, my phone rang. Tasha. I let it ring, my heart pounding, my mind battling whether to answer. I picked up. Myra, her voice was small, broken, nothing like the girl who had laughed at my pain. What do you want, Tasha? I asked, my voice cold. She began to sob. He left me, Mr. Bello. He said he didn't want the baby. That I was just a burden. He took everything. Myra, I have nowhere to go, no money, nothing. I closed my eyes, pressing the phone harder against my ear. Please, Myra, you're my sister, I need you. I saw the nights I starved, the landlord throwing my bag into the street, the whispers, the days I scrubbed toilets to survive, the tears I cried into a cold floor. You need me, I whispered. Please, Myra, please help me. She begged, her voice shaking. I opened my mouth to say yes, to promise to help, to plan how I would send the small savings I had begun to gather again. But the words died in my throat. Tasha would do it again. I realized that loving her didn't mean I had to destroy myself for her. Blood does not give anyone the right to steal your future. And I was done sacrificing for people who wouldn't sacrifice for me. I'm sorry, Tasha, I said, tears falling down my cheeks. I can't help you. Myra, please, she sobbed, don't leave me. I swallowed the lump in my throat. You left me first. And I ended the call. I dropped the phone, falling to my knees, letting out a cry that had lived in my chest for too long. It hurt. But in that pain was freedom. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds. And for the first time in a long time, I felt light. I got up, washed my face, and walked to the market to buy ingredients to cook jollof rice to sell in small portions. The first customer smiled at me, handing me a crumpled note in exchange for the food. I smiled back. I was starting over. On my terms. For me. Because sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away, even from the people you love the most. And that is exactly what I did. Weeks after I told Tasha I couldn't help her, I tried to move on. I focused on growing my small jollof rice business, waking at 4:30 a.m. to cook, carrying my cooler to the roadside, and selling to workers before they rushed to the bus stop. The coins dropped slowly into my plastic container, but each one felt like a small victory. One rainy morning, while I packed up, a young boy approached me, dripping wet, holding a piece of paper in his trembling hands. Auntie, one woman said I should give you, he said before running off. I opened the paper, my hands shaking as rain dripped from my braids onto the ink, smudging it. It was Tasha's handwriting. Myra, I don't know if you will ever forgive me. I am sorry, I took your dreams and destroyed them. I thought money and a soft life would save me, but I am emptier than ever. I named the baby after you, Myra. She's all I have now, and I don't know if I will live to raise her. I am sick, and I can't afford medicine. If anything happens to me, please don't let her suffer like we did. I'm sorry, sister. Tasha. I sat on the stool, clutching the paper to my chest, tears mixing with the rain. A woman buying rice asked if I was okay, but I couldn't answer. The pain was there, but under it, I felt something else, a softening, a reminder of the promise we made on the mat, as children under the leaking roof. We will never leave each other behind. Days later, I found Tasha in a small clinic, lying on a thin mattress, her skin pale, her eyes sunken, but still holding that spark I had known all my life. The baby, Myra, lay beside her, sleeping peacefully, her tiny fists curled, her breathing soft and even. Tasha looked at me, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "I thought you wouldn't come." I swallowed the lump in my throat, sitting beside her. "You're still my sister." She reached for my hand, squeezing it weakly. "I'm so sorry, Myra." I couldn't speak, so I just held her hand, letting my tears fall. Tasha died 3 days later, holding my hand, whispering that she loved me, asking me to forgive her. I buried her with the small money I had, wrapping her in a clean wrapper Mama left behind when she last visited. I took baby Myra in my arms, looking at her tiny face, her innocent eyes blinking up at me, unaware of the chaos of the world she had entered. As I fed her that night, I whispered, "You will never suffer like we did." I returned to the streets, selling food during the day, carrying baby Myra on my back. People would stop to buy, cooing at her, calling her Ayami, small Madam Blessing. Every coin I made, I saved for her future, promising myself that this time, the dreams would not be stolen. This time, I was living for both of us. Because sometimes, betrayal births the strength you never knew you had, and pain plants the seeds of purpose. And as I watched baby Myra's small fingers wrap around mine, I knew I would not let the cycle continue. I would break it, for her, for me. Please like, share with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel for more stories.